upgrade getting the H&S 310 manure spreader. Now, you'll probably say, Chris, you've got that red feeder in there. Why didn't you just drive in there and dump it in the red feeder? Very good question. I didn't want to. Alright, good morning. Welcome back to Ohrmundt Simmentals. Alright, Saturday morning. A little later start. Dad and I ran to Fleet this morning. They're giving out free hats, so it's a free hat day. And then also sporting our sweatshirts we got from our corn seed dealer, Cropping Central. They're over in Stratford. They've always been pretty darn good to us, so it's a nice sweatshirt, but I also need some farm sweatshirt. It's not going to get that dirty. But we needed some hydraulic oil and then another jug of engine oil. So yeah, but there's a couple things we gotta do on the spreader, and then that's done. And then we want to look at changing oil on the 44. So that guy's ready to go. All right, so we've got new filter on, old oil out, putting new oil in, going with the Mystic again, the super heavy duty engine, 1540 synthetic blend. We did notice we're getting a little fuel leak right on the back side of this filter. And that is one of the fuel filters, so this one takes two of them. Probably one of the O-rings in the back. If there was any kind of moisture in there, possibly dry it up and not the greatest seal. So we'll just keep an eye on that. I did order two of them. Should have had Dad pick them up at the Napa when he was there a couple weeks ago. Right at the bottom. That is a different dipstick. Alright, so we'll let this run for a little bit. Let the filter and everything all fill up, all that good stuff. There was a little bit of hesitation, but we did have to prime that filter a little bit. I took that little side panel off so we can see it better, but we want to run this. We want to run the manure spreader a little bit, get it cycled, and also get it the heck out of our way. All right, manure spreader seems to be spreading. I'm gonna grab a little bit of oil for chains and the grease gun. There it is. And then I'm gonna go around the 44 and give that guy a good grease job. So then it basically should be ready to go, other than swapping out those fuel filters. All right, took us almost a half an hour just to get the panels out, just how they're put together. The thing I don't like about the ones that have the pin with a washer in them, what ends up happening when they wear out is somehow that washer gets cocked and then driven down to the bottom of the next panel, and then you try and get them apart. That is not fun at all. All right, so Dad's kind of clearing his path. I'm gonna get the spreader in place and we'll actually start hauling some manure. right, we finally got our first load loaded. Dad's bringing the 44 with the spreader. I'm gonna grab my four-wheeler just because it's a little bit more nimble, and honestly Dad's truck was kind of in a bad spot, frees up a little space. First couple loads, both of us like to kind of be there just in case, one, you find a wet spot, or two, something breaks that we didn't check out. Just insurance, you know. And the four-wheeler is nice and nimble because I can basically follow along with them the whole way. The other thing is, what does our path look like? Still a little washed out here, but we're gonna get some road base, I think. Road base or gravel is gonna go on here. But I think for the few loads we're gonna run today and tomorrow, I think we can make it work. Haven't spread anything yet, but it's not a good start. So this is the end of the drain ditch. That's not a good start. So, I mean, we can smooth that out and all that stuff, but getting a load out. Load one of probably 100, 75. It's going to be around 80 loads. 80 to 100 loads, that's pretty typical. Still a nice upgrade getting the H&S 310 manure spreader. Especially for us. About 50% bigger than our old one. I'd say the only thing with this one, it doesn't do a super wide pattern, but it's all right, it gets the job done. Well, Dad is gonna take off with our second load, and I'm gonna start feeding. So Dad and I were actually thinking that what we're gonna do is leave the calves in the loafing shed. I mean, they've got access to water. There's actually still some hay back there. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and drive up to the fence and dump some piles of silage right along the fence. And hopefully that works out. Now, you'll probably say, Chris, you've got that red feeder in there. Why didn't you just drive in there and dump it in the red feeder? Very good question. I didn't want to. Yes, I could do that by myself, but also we haven't been in there for a while, and right when you make that turn is an absolute slop hole. It is every single year. So we have to do something completely different with that corner if we want to make it a little bit less of an issue. All right, so Dad's gonna finish loading up this one load, and then I'm gonna kind of do a little bit of feeding, what I can do. I got grain and water I can do inside, and then when Dad goes and hauls this, I'll throw the spike on and take a bale out to the cows. Probably no hay for the calves. They do have an old first crop bale in there, so not a big deal. Plus they got corn silage, so they're good for tonight. The loafing shed, that north half of that loafing shed and in the loafing shed is better than the conditions they're in right now, so to be totally honest. That's why I like a nice little, like a nice coverall, like right here would be really cool. I think it would it would make our conditions for our animals way, way nicer. All right, looks like Dad's not spreading that third load. That little bit of a leak at the fuel filter, he noticed that there's a lot of fuel, diesel fuel, pissing out of it. So hopefully it's just the filter itself. Unfortunately, yes, I have filters coming tomorrow, but those probably won't be here until the afternoon. So we'll have to run back to Fleet, or if Napa is open tomorrow, run out there in the morning, grab a couple filters, and then the ones that show up, we'll just have extras. So we got the bales spread out. That was an 04 bale. Still looks really decent inside. I mean, obviously the quality is down a little bit, but they like it. They eat it. They already went through all of their corn silage. You can tell the field is wet. But it's definitely getting a little chewed up, or as we like to say, if you're thinking in terms of grazing, it's got a lot of action to it. But since I'm flying solo, we're gonna do a drive around, check out all these cows, and see if anybody's been in heat. Flashy. Eh, 301 might have. She's got a little bit of a bald spot. Alright, so I'm going to swing by the mineral feeder. Went to Tractor Supply last night and stocked up on that all-purpose Purina mineral. Hey, good morning. So Dad and I ran and grabbed a couple of fuel filters. Because if you remember, about like probably 5 minutes ago. Had a pretty good leak. Said it was coming from the fuel filter area. Hopefully it is just a filter that was leaking, and then maybe it got a little extra plugged or something. There it is. Gas. And all that good stuff. Well, I had ordered filters, but thankfully O'Reilly's in town here had them, because all the Napas except the Napa in Merrill is closed, while the O'Reilly is only like 10 minutes away. So yeah, they luckily had them. They had some Wix filters, which they should be the right ones. Dad's gonna meet me over by the 44. We'll swap those out. Thankfully, swapping fuel filters is pretty freaking easy. Well, Houston, I think we found our problem. So yeah, that would cause issues, I guess. So let's get them swapped out. Right, Dad?
Why are you going to get your gloves off in this cell? Make sure that bottom's hooked in good.
Right down by that screw head is where, right above that is where it was leaking. That's where it was leaking before. And we put this new one on there, and the O-rings that actually seal it look like castrating band Cheerios. And I don't know, must have been a chunk of dirt in there, because it was not sealing properly, was it?
Nope.
All right, let's try this out.
We'll kick it over.
Okay.
I'm going to stand off to the side.
poke around in here a little bit just to see how this is. Even if I can just kind of clean up right in here and try to get it cleaned off a little bit so that some of this water has a place to go and you at least start getting a dry spot. Because otherwise we just chew it all up. And we don't want that either. All right, took just a smidge of a lunch break and back out. So what we're gonna do this afternoon, because there is so much out here, and we also have a guy coming later this afternoon to look at the 29. We're not sure if we're gonna be able to get this all cleaned and hauled. I'm gonna start right now. Dad has the load. He took his break after he drove down by his place, stopped right next to, we drive right next to the house. He's gonna haul that, but then for the rest of the afternoon while he's hauling, I'm gonna load up the green trailer and dump next to the pile over there, because I can probably get maybe 2 of these dumped in the amount of time it takes him to go back and forth. And then that way it helps get this cleaned out hopefully this afternoon. If we can get this cleaned out this afternoon, that's massive. That's huge. All right, we are all set up. So the other nice thing is we're to the point now in the pile where we can now back up to the barn in here. One, it's a heck of a lot less travel than having to go out there. And if you spill, you're still in the yard, so you're not making a mess out in the driveway. So we are definitely getting to feeding time, and the cows on the field they're letting me know. They've done about 4 laps in the last hour driving around the field, and now they're just staring at me over the manure pile. Like I can just barely see them. All I can see are their eyeballs. All right, Dad is down showing the 29 to somebody who's interested. They came up and want to take a look at it. So he's down there doing that. I'm gonna keep feeding. Just gave silage to the cows. I gotta come up with a little bit more for the calves and the heifers in the back. We're not quite done cleaning. Probably have about honestly, we got like 4 more loads to go. And we're gonna pull the plug for tonight, and then tomorrow night we'll probably haul a few more loads. And like yesterday, I got enough silage here, more than what those calves need. But since I'm just gonna do what I did yesterday and dump it over the fence, I want a little bit more than they need. And then I can get a good look at what hay is left in that ring. All right, so in combination with the corn silage, I just filled up this bucket, and this is the big one, with their second crop hay. And then I'll make another pile, and I think I'm actually gonna drive across my lawn. As one, I wanna stay next to the building because it is a little breezy. I don't want this stuff to blow out. So I'm gonna dump it right here, which is the north end. Again, just trying to get through the night, not necessarily trying to, like if we knew they were gonna be back here 2 nights, we would have gave them a bale last night. All right, we got a nice bale out here for the cows. Looks like good variety, still nice and green on the inside, nice soft hay, and you can obviously tell that they like it, or they're just that hungry, but I'm gonna go with that they like it because they're still way up here and not down here. So let's take our daily pay-roos and check these girls out. More so checking out the cows than checking out the calves. You know those guys are good because they're all running around like idiots. Alrighty, just got done dropping Dad off. Just the way the vehicles ended up, his truck was still at their place. So dropped him off, done feeding, and all the calves looks like they're going at their corn silage and their hay. So that's nice. Those guys should be okay for the night. And again, hopefully we can get that done tomorrow night. That would be awesome to have it totally bedded down, because honestly we have to put cedars in on Tuesday. So, and it's like you think about it, it's like you don't know where all the time went. But I know one thing, I spent at least 3 days plowing snow, like consecutively. So, but yeah, that's the end of the day, end of the weekend, end of the video. Hope you guys liked the video. Please smash that like button on your way out. And of course, if you got any questions, please leave them in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. Helps support us here at Ohrmundt Simmentals. Helps us get to our goal of 4,000 subs by the end of the year with your help. And as always, thanks for coming along.